All right, let's talk about something that can feel, well, pretty daunting. Today, we're going to crack the code on how to write a great research paper. You know that feeling, right? You stare at a blank page, and the idea of a research paper just feels like this massive, impossible mountain. And all those rules, it's like they're trying to be confusing. Trust me, you are not alone in feeling that way. But what if we just flip that whole idea on its head? Let's reframe it. A research paper isn't just some boring, dry report. No way. It's a story. It's a story about a question, a journey to find an answer, and what you discovered along the way. And guess what? You get to be the storyteller. Seriously, thinking about it this way changes everything. It stops being a chore and starts feeling like an actual journey. And look, every great story needs a plan, right? A movie has a script, a building has a blueprint. It's what gives it structure. Well, in research, our blueprint has a name, and it's called I'm Rad. So this is it, IMRAD. This is the blueprint, the architecture of your entire research story. Let's break down what it actually means, because once you get this, I promise, the whole thing starts to make a lot more sense. Okay, so what does IMRAD even stand for? It's pretty simple. Introduction, method, results, and discussion. But I think an even better way to remember it is by the question each section answers. The introduction is the why. Why does this research matter? The method is the how. How did you do it? The results section is the what. What did you find out? And finally, the discussion is the so what. Why should anyone care? All right, let's start at the beginning. Just like any good story, you have to set the stage. This is your opening act, where you hook the reader and make them care about what you have to say. Your introduction is literally the opening scene of your movie. It's where you give the audience the background, the context. You point to the problem, the thing that's not quite right. And then you state your mission, your objectives, and the exact questions you're setting out to answer. Now, the absolute key to a great introduction is finding what's called the research gap. And this is so important. A research gap isn't just something you don't know. It's a missing piece of the puzzle for the entire field. It's a question nobody has a good answer for yet. When you find that gap, you're showing everyone why your story needs to be told. Check this out. Here's a perfect example from a real paper. It says, little is known about how secondary level English teachers in Nepal integrate these tools. See that? That phrase right there, little is known about, that is the research gap. Boom, that's the whole reason this study exists. So how do you find that gap? That's where your literature review comes in. And this isn't just a book report where you summarize a bunch of articles. Nope. You're like a detective, piecing together everything we already know to show exactly where that missing piece is. You're building the foundation for your news story. Okay, so you've set the stage, you've hooked your reader with a compelling problem. Now you have to tell them how you're going to solve the mystery. This is your methods section. It's the part where you lay all your cards on the table and explain exactly how you did your research. The whole point here is transparency. Another researcher should be able to read this section and, in theory, do the exact same study. So you've got to be super clear. What was your design? Qualitative, quantitative? Who did you study? What tools did you use? Surveys, interviews? And what were the step-by-step procedures you followed? Leave no stone unturned. And here's a fantastic example of how to do it right. Look at this simple table. In just a few seconds, we know the gender, experience, and school type for every participant. It's clean, it's clear, and it makes the whole study feel much more credible. This is a great touch. All right, let's get to the real meat of the paper. And this is where a lot of people get tripped up, the difference between your findings and your discussion. But getting this right is absolutely crucial to telling a good research story. Just think of it like this. The findings section is simply the what. What did you find? You're just a reporter here, presenting the cold hard facts, the raw data. Direct quotes, numbers, statistics, no opinions, no interpretation, just the facts. Then, in the discussion section, you put on your storyteller hat. This is the so what. Okay, you found these things. So what does it all mean? Here's where you interpret everything, connect it back to the big picture, and really explain the meaning of it all. Let's make this super concrete. Here's a finding. It's a quote from a participant. YouTube has been my main platform. I learn new ideas. That's it. That's the what. It's raw data, exactly what the person said. We're not reading into it at all. Okay, now watch this. Here comes the discussion. The author takes that quote and gives us the so what. They say this use of YouTube aligns with previous studies. Aha, you see the move? They're not just reporting the quote anymore. They're interpreting it. They're connecting it to the larger conversation and telling us what it means. So you've presented the facts and explained what they mean. It's time to bring the story home. This is the final act, wrapping it all up. Your big finish. And a good conclusion is more than just a summary. Yeah, you summarize your main points, but you also need to hammer home why your study was important. You got to be honest about any limitations. No study is perfect. And then, and this is key, you point to the future. You suggest what questions the next storyteller should try to answer. And last but not least, don't forget the polish. The details really do matter. Getting your APA 7 formatting right, making sure your references are perfect, keeping that clear academic tone, that's what makes your story look and feel professional. It ties the whole package together. So there you have it, the IMRD blueprint. It's not a cage, it's not a bunch of restrictive rules, it's a powerful framework that helps you tell a clear and impactful story. It takes this huge, scary task and turns it into a step-by-step journey. So, you've got the blueprint now. The only question left is, what story will your research tell?